Hello, everybody, and welcome to an in-depth deck building with me and Daniel from Quick Learner. How's it going, Daniel?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good, I'm great. I'm excited to build some decks. So if you don't know what in-depth deck building is, the series is focusing on building a deck and explaining our decisions in great detail. Greater detail than, oh yeah, I want perception here, because that's like kind of like baseline. Why do we want perception? What does it make us feel when we draw perception? Yada, yada, yada. This is the first time that I'm doing this with someone else. And if you don't know about Daniel's channel, you can find a link down in the video description. Oh, Necro Toaster, thank you so much for the other months. Unfortunately, Satan just ruined the intro a little bit there, but that's okay. All right, so we have been chat recommended Marie Lambeau and Patrice Hathaway for our two investigators that we're going to build around here. And we don't really have a plan right now, so I think a good way to showcase in-depth deck building is exactly this. Like, pretend we're going to be playing these in a campaign. So, like, our conversation starts there. We're like, I want to play Marie. I want to play Patrice. What are you kind of like feeling for roles? Are we going to specialize, or are we going to take advantage of our classes and kind of be a little bit more flexible, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're very flexible characters already. If you look at their stat lines, Marie does have the 4 intellect, which says, I can get clues every now and then with that number, but she's a mystic, so you don't have to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because we also have like she does like what 0 to 3, and then spells 0 to 5, so she can basically play like the upgraded mystic stuff very easily. So I think when I look at Marie Lambeau, the style of deck that I like the most is like skill slinging via astronomical atlas. Because that would be like, I think, a very fun way to go, just because the astronomical atlas is like a really fun card to work with. And I also play research librarian, which means that I can actually like find it, right? So if you don't know, I'll just show that here. I'm not settled on this yet, but this could be like a way that I would want to go, right? And it's just an eligible skill test, which also works really well with Patrice, because Patrice generally like can test a variety of things, and having more things that make that better can be really nice as well. Did you have any like initial thoughts on Patrice of where, like, some ideas of where you'd want to go?
So we don't have any Drowned City cards in ARKHAM DB, do we?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think we have like George Barnaby.
But we don't have what's his name?
Lawrence?
What's the guy level 0? Yeah, Lawrence Carlisle.
No. But well, you can put him in, and we can do a placeholder too.
That's true. So like one thing when I'm building a deck is I come up with like, here's the card I want to build around. You did exactly that with Astronomical Atlas. And for Patrice, she's so open. There's so many things you can do. You can do St. Hubert's Key, right, and get some of your numbers up, and try to do all the desperate skills at the same time, right, if you can afford it. And I think that Lawrence Carlisle kind of enables that a bit, because you can make money a little bit faster. But, maybe we build around the hand slots here. We've got the violin we want to play. We could lean into, let's try like an Astral Mirror deck. That sounds kind of fun.
And as if the universe is aligned, Pax is also here to say, plan for Astral Mirror so that you'll get Dendromorphosis.
Hey, Pax. All right, fine. Let's do that.
Yeah.
So I kind of like upgrading into this, or maybe starting with it in the thick of it, since it's kind of key around our game plan. I don't know if I want to put like all of the Doom charms in here, because that seems like too much with Marie. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I actually also do think that we should try to add like that extra flair. We'll build this with one collection too. To like kind of mimic the idea that this is something that you could do at home with these two decks if you only had one collection of ARKHAM cards. I think that's pretty fair, though. I don't know how much I'm going to actually use the Doom. So that's actually a great thing. Let's do this next thing where we can like just look for cards that say Doom on them, right?
Yeah.
And think of like, what would I want to be doing with these? So again, I'm not really a Marie expert. Occult cards level 0. Okay, and then if you look at my upgrade stuff. Interesting. Okay. I haven't actually built an El Rubash deck. I'd be also considering something like that, too. In that case, I would use the charms, but... Interesting. Okay. There still isn't really a lot of, like, Doom cards, huh? It's really like Baron Samdi, our boy. I do know that there's people that actually build Marie and like their like plan is Baron, and you still can get like a good chunk of actions out of that if you have like the damage mitigation. So like what if we plan for that, right? Like what if my plan is not actually using like that, but like what if I do like Hallowed Chalice as like an option as well? So, like, the idea is that Baron and Hallowed Chalice are how I get my extra actions for my spells, and then I get further value out of Astronomical Atlas. I could get bad.
Might you want to play?
I mean, if I know anything about me, one of them is Divination. I think I would know that for sure. Like, I could say that's pretty much a guarantee. And the nice thing about Astronomical Atlas, right, is that you have kind of like the option to be a little bit flexible with your things too. Interesting. Okay, so if I just look at spells here, I mean, how likely are you? This is a great question because we actually share a very similar card pool with the Mystic stuff here. How likely are you to use things like Spectral Razors and Read the Signs?
Possible. I was thinking you throw some nonsense items into play in your hand slots and use events for other kind of stuff. So possibly, but you know, is she really the best one to use Read the Signs in this group? Probably not. So
Probably not.
You can take them.
But I mean, you could even take then in that case the you're a better user. I just quickly crunched the numbers. 4 + 1 is less than 4 + 2. You could be the Spectral Razor one. Like we could share them, right?
Yeah. And as we all know from Daisy, you can make Spectral Razor work if your numbers are bad.
Yes, there are a lot of tools that you could use to take advantage of it. All right, I think that's an easy conversation we just had. I'll take Read the Signs because you're right. I think I'm just like the better user of it because I just once again 8 is higher than 6. Just quickly crunching those numbers. Do you want Spectral Razor now, or should we just leave it kind of like open?
Nah, let's leave it open for now.
Okay, sounds great. I am going to do Astronomical Atlas. I'm going to do that for sure. So I'm going to take a 1 of those to start, and I'm going to take an In the Thick of It. Luckily, I don't count permanents as collection limited because you don't need to actually have the card. So you can also take it as well, which is really nice. So then I'm just going to go In the Thick of It for 2, please. And I'm going to take 2 Mental Trauma for the reason of the I have more mental, and also like Baron Samdi is going to be dealing us physical damage. So something to just be aware of. Because of Astronomical Atlas, it's a tome. I'm going to want to be able to find it quicker. I'm going to run Research Librarian to get there. We also don't care if Research Librarian gets replaced by Baron, because we're not going to be building around him. So it's one of those things that we can then get rid of him, or put the first damage and horror that comes on Research Librarian. And as I mentioned earlier, I am going to run 2 copies of Hallowed Chalice because it's our Doom plan for this deck. And I actually like it because I think this is kind of interesting to me. And I think it actually would work pretty well at getting Doom when needed, while also making sure we live. And if we do play these decks, I'm pretty sure you'll be happy that I have damage healing when I'm also planning on keeping Baron in play.
Yes. Yeah, someone's got to do it. And we know that it's not always you.
Yes. All right. I can keep poking a bit if you're still thinking, but you can always just like feel free to tag in whenever you want to throw some stuff in your deck.
Sure. What else are you putting for your splash slots, do you think?
I'm gonna do deduction. Mostly because I want to take advantage of the astronomical atlas, right? Because having the ability, to also like play it twice, and also like you said, I have 4 books, so like worst case, I can throw it in there to actually, pass like a 5-2 check and get 2 clues out of it. And while you're right, you can easily include Drain Essence and Marie and take 2 physical. That is a good way to also just potentially die for minimal gain, in my opinion, because I feel like it's probably not worth it. If you're going to take Arcane Research in addition, I think it's worthy of consideration, but I think that that's a little bit risk-reward for a result that without that, you'd probably also win the campaign. One last card for my splash here. I also want to quickly look at the occult cards, because I think that's oh shoot, Hallowed Mirror.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Okay. All right. I'm going to also throw another tidbit of an idea to you.
Sure.
What if there was something that, like, what if we built around, like I guess like the thing is like, is there any kind of idea for you to build like bless stuff? Because I could take advantage of symbol tokens that way, and you could too. Because like I think Voice of Ra is a really good card for Patrice in the right deck because it's such a explosion of resources, right? Mm-hmm. So do we want to take advantage of symbols at all? Because then that'll allow me to potentially look at upgrading the Read the Signs, and also potentially using things like Living Ink as a way to also get some extra value out of things.
Probably not with the Astral Mirror idea, just because, well, I mean, it could be, but, I'd also think about Living Ink myself.
Yeah, definitely.
But there's no slot for it. What other plus things? I mean, throwing something like Keep Faith into Patrice is pretty good. It's fast. The upgraded one doesn't cost anything. What else would she even want out of the Bless or Curse archetype? I can't think of anything off the top of my head of that would synergize with her card pool.
Yeah.
Unless it's just straight up Bless, but I'm not sure that you can do
I don't
much
think
with
there's
that
much.
than...
I don't think there's much in there. Because I'm also just like scanning through. Okay, so then maybe we don't. So then, like, what if like I take Voice of Ra then, because we're not going to be building around it, so it's going to be less explosive.
Mm-hmm.
Does that seem reasonable?
I mean, it's still quite good, right?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. But I mean, if you want it, you can take it too for your stuff. Because I mean, like, if you are playing a bunch of stuff, like, or do you have other plans?
I'm going to throw in like a Schaffner's, I think.
Cool. All right. All right, so we'll take Voice of Ra over here for some econ. So the reason why this card's good is not because of what it says then, but what it says when you have the taboo list, which we're building with this taboo list, even though I did not include this here. But having it just be symbols means that, like, most often, this is just an emergency cache. Now, you might be asking, but why would you not just play emergency cache here? And that is actually legitimately a good question, right? Like, why would you not just play emergency cache here? Because it's reliable. It's because generally the ceiling on this is very high, right? So its floor is not always, but usually an emergency cache. But sometimes it's 5 or 7 resources, which is like really nice, right? It's a Faustian bargain with like no downside a good number of times. In addition, as Astute is saying in chat, it's a spell as well, which means that I could play it for free which is really nice for Marie's ability. Speaking of that,
And it has an icon, unlike emergency cache, so it won't get stuck on your atlas.
Very good. Very good. I actually didn't even think of that. And I'm building the Astronomical Atlas deck, but that is actually a very good point as well. And it's a relevant icon, even better. So why don't we look at spells? I think that's a good place for us to go next. I kind of want, obviously I need some stuff in play. And I think due to the nature of what we are doing, I'm gonna play Shriveling and Rite of Seeking at the start. Those are gonna be my spell, because I feel like we are, as we talked about, we're gonna kind of be taking advantage of the fact that we can both do things, right? However, I am gonna be upgrading into Divination for sure. And potentially Brand of Cthugha. The reasons for this one's a potential upgrade, is one, I like them more because unlike the other cards, these guarantee damage or clues. The charges actually just guarantee it. Divination has that extra boost where it's going to be it's gonna also, I can use my book, which is relevant for things like deduction, and probably the last seeker skill that I'm gonna end up putting in my deck. It's probably gonna be a seeker skill if I had to know anything about myself. So there's that other use as well. But I like security in my spells as a mystic, and being able to just know that I can guarantee damage out of this or clues is really nice for me. This doesn't say that I won't do them in tandem. I might also see a way where it's Shriveling, Brand of Cthugha, Divination, and maybe even a Rite of Seeking, depending on how things go as we upgrade through all of this. Because that's going to kind of be my focus of things. It's going to be a pretty traditional mystic, and we're going to use Astronomical Atlas for more card draw and just boosts to test as they come. And I also think the nice thing too is that at least for Shriveling and these other upgrades, I'm not going to be stepping on Patrice's toes to get things done. With all that said, if my plan is to also kind of just tank Baron Samedi, I think that I would also be down for potentially looking at Earthly Serenity. Mostly because I feel like between the two of us, even though we can both run both versions of this card, like this in the level 4, your actions in a turn are more valuable, but also less valuable just by the way that we don't know how Patrice's hand is going to go. But because you can have much more use out of your actions, they're kind of just more important to get set up, take advantage of what you do have. I think that just by nature, we should just assume that your actions are going to be a higher priority than my actions, right? I think that's just a fair assumption between the two of our decks. So I'll probably put this in the side deck as well, because I think that's really nice for that. All right. We talked earlier about Living Ink. Does it conflict too much with your Astral Mirror, so you're probably not going to look at it?
Right.
Yeah.
Because either it takes up the body slot, which doesn't work, or it takes up the arcane slot, which also doesn't work.
Doesn't work, yeah. All right, I'm gonna run it Living Ink then. I love Living Ink. I love this card a lot. So we're gonna start with Brain because I'm a mystic. That's just an easy place to start. And then what I'll probably look at doing is grabbing Macabre Depiction, because of it's actually a very easy way to keep it charged forever, even without a lot of synergy with it. When you have extra synergy, it's better, but you'll be fine even without it. And then I'll also probably look at choosing to add Book, or if I do Brand of Cthugha or Spectral Razor, if you end up not taking them, I will probably do Fist as an option as well, which I think could be really fun. Notably, I only get to put 6 into this, so I can't do everything that I would want to do. I wouldn't be able to get Book and Fist. I'd have to decide as we go, because Marie, like Finn, can only play... Oh, wrong one. She can only play Mystic 0 to 3. So just something to keep in mind. Okay. I had another tangent that I just lost, which is unfortunate. I do want to look at skill cards, but I also want to get like some more my spell things solidified. But I mean, I think realistically, like, if we're being honest with Marie, how many times do you need to use her ability to like really feel it? And I think it's not like every turn, but like if you like solve a problem like every 2 turns with it, or like advance the game every 2 turns, that's probably enough to win the game off her ability, right?
Probably. I think if you like, how long do you leave the Doom in play? I think with Baron to get use out of it. That's a good question. To maybe comes up in the game and you think about towards the end, right, where you really do want the extra actions to make headway.
I like having some security as well. So let me also just like look at the charts over here, what our icons are like. So we have 7 brain, 8 book, 2 of all the others. So they're all relevant. The hardest one to hit would be research librarian, right? Okay, I just got a wacky idea, and I don't know if it's good or not, but we might pivot. We might do something.
Okay.
What if I play all of the Edge of the Earth spells, so they're all active? All symbols for my astronomical atlas are active. So what if we also put blur in here?
Blur.
And then we kind of just like have everything doing their thing. Is that good, or is that kind of janky? But I mean, like, I will say you do influence me when you're here. I kind of like build who I'm playing with, and I know you kind of like to have fun. So what if we kind of have fun, right? Like, what if we try to do something?
Astute. Blur for your extra action to get 2 extra actions. Yep. And you evade someone too.
Okay. Yep. Okay.
I mean, it's a good theme, right? You got your... What's the thing that refills the charges? Beyond
the one we were just talking about, the curse one?
Oh, I didn't even think about that. But yes, that one. No, I was thinking about the skill. Ghastly Possession, right?
Ghastly Possession. Okay, yeah, we can frick with this. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to put Blur in the side deck again. And then... Because I think what's important for Astronomical Atlas is you kind of want to use every symbol on command, right? I think that's going to be like what's really going to help. So I am going to also grab Mists, because one thing about me that, if you've watched this channel a bunch, is you know that I like my upgrades to have like what they were in like another version in their lower level, right? So that's why like Mists, Right, and Shriveling I think are all really nice because of that. Now, additionally, we're looking at all these cards, so we're also thinking synergy. That's kind of popping up here now as well. So why don't we grab this in the side deck, because this could be something that I would grab in the future, just to call for backup. I don't know how much we're going to actually like use it, but it is going to be just something that, like, when I see like all the classes, I feel like I have to take it. Right, I feel like I have to, so I'm going to put it in the side deck. Okay, well, this is looking like a wild upgrade path. Other things that you might be thinking, but that I'm also thinking right now, for everyone watching at home, is how do I get all these spells into play at once, right? And I saw someone say it earlier, but there's other ways to get spell slots too. But someone said Binder's Jar earlier. Which is an option that we could do. I also had a demon in the back of my head say, what about Dragon Pole, Marie? And I'm like, that's a terrible idea. So I immediately shut that demon up, because that would have been not great. Okay.
Oh, but what if I do Dragon Pull for
That would be
free?
kind
You
of
get the
sick.
extra
That would be kind of
slots, right?
sick. Yeah. All right. Is there anything here that
I'm
I'm
not gonna do
stepping on your toes with your plan, or is everything looking kind of like good for like what you're feeling right now?
I think the only thing I like, maybe I would consider the binder's jar just to get
Yeah.
more empty slots, but not necessarily.
I mean, I could find other things. I think binder's jar might not be the way for me. Because I feel like even if I'm building this kind of like weird mobile Marie, I do feel like I'm going to lean a bit more. Like, I think whoever has Binder's Jar is going to lean a bit more towards enemy management, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's something that I think I'm okay with you taking Binder's Jar and me finding another way. Because I also think you have a better payoff than I do, if that makes sense.
For now, I don't think it's going to be like a first upgrade thing. Well, I'll see how the rest of the deck shapes up. Like we haven't gotten there yet, right?
Yeah, yeah. And like what we'll do is we get close, we'll poke at it again near the last little bit. But okay, then I need to look at arcane slots. So why don't we just like look at this? Give me the level 0 versions, because that's kind of what we're gonna have to look at. There's not many choices. Familiar Spirit could be away, but if we lose it to Baron, I mean, unless I empty it all beforehand, right?
Mm.
The hero font?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Sign Magic
like
eats
one of
up
those
hand
decks
slots.
where yeah, when you have like, I feel like doing this deck with Mystics, I've had this problem before where you're like, how do I eat up my deck slots just to get more slots to put things in? And then half your game is just playing things so that you can play things later.
Yes.
And you get nothing done.
Okay. So I think what this is telling me... Hello, Russell. How's it going? Do you want to come sit on me? All right, buddy, come here. I think this what this is telling me is I need to rein in my expectations a little bit, right? And I think this is a very good showcase of how I approach kind of like a sillier idea, right? Where I get all the what ifs, I get like the Bryn's Madhouse part done, and then I'm like, okay, so but now how do we tighten this up a bit? And I feel like the answer to that question is we kill the synergy idea and we kind of go for like a rotating spell idea where like it's like you go to a sushi restaurant and you know like it's all rotating around and I grab what I need in the moment and then I use it. So for that, do you have any plans to use Uncage the Soul?
I don't think that lines up very well with Patrice, right?
Yeah, I agree, because you need to like combo it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna grab Uncage the Soul and Uncage the Soul 3 in my sideboard. Because then the idea is that I'm just using spells. Is this turning into a true Magic deck? Absolutely not. I can't play. Can I even play it? Is it a cult? I mean, no, I can't even play it, can I? No, it's out of my wheelhouse. Okay. All right, and I do think, yeah, the Ghastly Possession probably is going to live here as well. Also just really good with the Atlas. We are probably... I mean, okay, I think realistically as well, this is when you're building a deck, you have to ask yourself, do I want this as a 1-of, or is this going to live as a 2-of? And I do think that Astronomical Atlas is going to live as a 1-of, because it's not fundamental to my game plan, but it is a very good card. So it's one of those things, 1 Astronomical Atlas and 2 Research Librarians is probably enough for me to see it pretty commonly in like the first few turns of the game. So that'll be one of those things that helps that. It's tough because
Do
I
you want
want
to
to
sit
be
on it
like,
a bit and I start working on mine?
yeah, I want to send it to you so you can start poking, but then I'm like, but I can't then like think of it on my own because I have to be camera for you. But I think
True,
that is a
true.
good idea.
Yeah.
Let's go to yours for a bit. Also, just for variety is the spice of life.
Sure. Let's talk about Patrice for a second in case people aren't intimately familiar. So she's got what, a max hand size of 5, and then she loses everything every round. So she draws until she has 5. So it's a very much a play style where if you have the cards in hand, you either pitch them to some other kind of benefit like Cornered or her violin or maybe Lawrence or something to get value, or you need to play the cards. So you either have to have actions to do that, or they're fast. They got to be usable. It's just kind of a random whatever you get in your hand every round, and you maybe slowly build a board state where that gets a little bit more value. The other thing that I think about when I think about Patrice is her weakness. So she comes with the Watcher from Another Dimension, and kind of a problem when you do run out of your deck if this is still in your hand, who also is eating up your hand slots throughout the whole game, and that just sucks. You need to figure out how to get rid of this guy before that, otherwise you take 3 damage, he spawns, and you're not having a good time. So figuring out a way to fight or evade this enemy is, I think, the first thing I would do. And the way we're going to do this is, maybe we've got a couple options, but let's throw in 2 copies of Ethereal Form.
Ghost. Yeah, hell yeah. I'll put
Yeah.
this in, then I'll put this up here. So, yeah.
So this card lets you add your 1 good number to one of your other 3 crappy numbers, and then it's going to give you a better shot at doing the evade. And if you fail, maybe you got another one or something. But it's not a bad card in general, I think, for this kind of thing. But if we really want to make this hit, we're going to try to improve that agility score. So let's put in 2 copies of Moonstone.
Yeah, yeah. Very, very, very nice, but Patrice kind of like staple here.
Yeah, so not only does it bring those 2 numbers up, it also allows us to save on actions to play it. So when you discard it from your hand, you can play it. It's not cheap, though. She's going to be running low on resources. So part of what I'd like to do here is throw a bunch of items into play. Kind of works with that Astral Mirror idea. So we're going to throw 2 copies of Schaffners into the deck to start with. And you just play it when it shows up. This is better than Emergency Cash. Maybe, maybe not, but it can be shared across the 2 of us.
Yeah.
Probably back in the day, you could maybe think about scavenging also. Yeah, I mean, maybe there's no other reason to run this other than it's a cool item, and maybe we come up with a way to play items from the discard pile, like salvage. Maybe let's throw salvage into the side deck.
Oh yeah, sure. I love salvage. I mean, also because the nice thing about salvage too is that if you need emergency resources, you can like also use it for that too. It's a very very flexible card.
Yeah, it's not cheap. I think the 2 XPs, you need to get a lot of value out of that, but maybe that's a cool thing to do. If you don't like that idea, you can always put Voice of Ra, Emergency Cash, whatever, and that does something too. But let's run with the item stuff. Okay, so I feel like I've figured out the weakness issue. We're going to try to evade, but if the Ethereal Form doesn't show up, or they show up before the weakness does, then you're a little sad. So we need a little more than that. We're going to try to get by with random survivor bullshit. So let's do some of the events that work from your discard pile. Let's throw them all in. The deck size for Patrice is 42? Something
it's huge.
absurd.
Yeah.
So we can put Winging It.
Yeah, improvised weapon.
Improvised weapon.
Yeah.
That will also work on your weakness, even from hand, right? It just needs to do the 1 damage or succeed on the test.
Yeah. And then
sure, why not
barrier,
impromptu barrier?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're getting an upgraded version. go ahead.
Well, the nice thing about these ones too is that as when you're kind of building a deck at level 0, I also try to look for cards that I'm like, you are here to also eventually be replaced, right? And like this is something that one it's like, hey, yeah, this is like just something that in the future I've got into scenario 6 and I have to just put in a new card. I think this card can now leave because of that.
Yeah, totally agree. We want to have something that we could replace with, the salvage or whatever. And maybe it's impromptu barrier. We do have an upgraded improvised weapon. It's just not quite released yet, but that will be even better for Patrice, I think.
Yeah.
So let's finish off like the events maybe and throw some other fast things in here, like premonition. Premonition's a good staple for Patrice.
Yeah. Premonition.
You just it shows up, you play it. You're always getting pretty good value.
Yeah.
I don't think I want Ward of Protection, and let's talk about why for Patrice.
Yeah.
I think it's okay, but maybe in a bigger play group where you could upgrade to the level 2 version. The issue is you can't hold on to it, right? So you end up taking horror and spending a resource on canceling something that's not that scary just because it's in your hand, and that's like, I could probably do better with that slot. The same reason we won't put Lucky in, but we might put in Live and Learn. And the difference here really is just that it doesn't cost any resources.
It doesn't cost any resources, and it's also a wild, which is, I think...
It's also a wild, exactly. Yeah. Lucky doesn't have any icons on it. Yeah, perfect.
Sorry, Russ is
and
just...
it can also be something that could be upgraded.
Yeah.
So we need a lot more cards here. So the other thing we want to do is put some other items in for our Schaffners, and I was thinking about... so we don't have a way to fight, really, with our hand slots. So maybe we can throw in... a fire axe.
There's space there. Oh,
yeah,
that's
the
actually
upgrade one.
That's kind of neat because the upgraded one's fast, which is again more Patrice, more now, right? Which is good.
As long as we've got ways of getting resources, I think this is reasonable. I don't know, like there's a little bit of at odds with some of those other things that cost money, the winging it's maybe you just take the... I mean, I'm not going to put we could put a dark horse in here. Level 5 dark horse would be pretty cool eventually.
Yeah, definitely.
And the Schaffners kind of turns that on, right? Because you hide your resources on a card essentially.
Yeah. The other thing too that I'm looking at these cards that all cost 1, and this is something that I say quite a bit, that 1 is free. It's not actually free, but because you get 1 resource each turn, it means that, like, if you don't draw an enemy that you need to fire axe, you could winging it, right? Like, from your discard pile, or improvised weapon, and then, like, kind of go from there. So, it's like... And also, like, you might not be fighting with your fire axe. You might find something else, too.
The other card I really want to put in here is the Pocket Multi-Tool.
Oh, heck yeah. Yeah.
And this lets us kind of use all of our numbers, right? We're going to eventually want to upgrade this to the Lucky version, which is at the bottom, spring-loaded. It's 4 XP. And that way we can take some of those tests, like improvised weapon, and be not very high numbers. And we just assume we'll pass using all the tricks that we have.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I want to do here. The Astral Mirror maybe helps us hold all of this stuff. It might not be like the most important part, but... Let's start with that.
We'll get Astral Mirror up here for all you two, and I'll put in your side deck too.
Yeah, we can decide later if it's empty. To start with it.
Yeah, 1 additional hand slot. You may take additional action, which can be used to play one of your assets into your hand slots, which is really nice again for Patrice because she is kind of like limited on those things, and it means that you're going to have a bit more leeway to play your economy to then also play these cards too if you need to.
Let's think about the other thing I want to upgrade into, which is Hunting Jacket.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's a that's a good one.
It's a great card. It's going to be probably our soak. We might put an ally in later if we think about this more, but this allows us to stash some cards into our jacket in Patrice's hand, right? We're going to lose them anyway, so what if we actually didn't? What if we get to keep them in a little bit of a side deck and then pick them up later when we take damage or something. That part's a little bit harder to do, to try to take damage to defeat this.
Yeah.
We could come up with ways, but I haven't thought of that yet. Or you just pick them up when you decide what you put in there as something you might want. Oh, Astral Mirror.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, is this
Well, we
something...
might lose the Astral Mirror idea.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, is this something that, like, maybe you instead kind of, like, adapt from that? Because, like, if you're not... I mean, I guess it's kind of one of the things that as you build and plan, you decide how many hand slots do I actually need, right? And then maybe you don't need Binder's Jar, and then I maybe turn into a bit more of a fighter. And this is why, a good example, if it's nice if you're playing with people to build your decks together and have like a conversation, because even though like we've put some cards in here, I can change this depending on how things evolve from all of this as well. Like, I know we've already talked about my deck for 30 minutes, but there's even a chance that Astronomical Atlas might not even make the cut in the future too. We'll just have to see how this all goes.
Yeah, I'm kind of liking the Hunting Jacket idea better. That just sounds like maybe that's a basic like Dark Horse deck, but I kind of think that would be more fun right now.
Sure, yeah. So then should we put some Dark Horses in here to start getting that idea kind of a bit more like you can see the full Dark Horsey picture?
Maybe we throw a Sparrow Mask, like 1 or 2 of those in. I think I want that over the Cat Mask, but maybe not, depending on if are you fighting more?
I think I might be fighting more, potentially.
Okay,
I'm
then
not
I kind of
sure.
like the Sparrow Mask. I mean, I could take the Cat Mask and it would fire with your ability.
I guess the thing is I don't need the fist part of it, right? And I'm probably realistically not playing a mask. Oh, sorry, buddy.
Okay. Well, let's put a pin on that. Someone's asking about if I want to use dilemmas. Not at level 0. I don't like those dilemmas. But certainly the At a Crossroads, maybe Nature of the Beast, those could go in too. But I'd rather fill up the rest of the level 0 stuff for now with just skills.
Yeah.
So let's go there. Let's put
skills.
Any of the good rogue, or sorry, the good survivor skills that make sense for Patrice, like Last Chance. So this one gives you icons for it gives you 5, but subtract 1 for every other card in your hand. If you've already discarded your cards or you've already used them for something else, this is a nice like last thing in your turn to play.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. Maybe before we do the survivor ones, we can see what we get out of the Mystic Splash, just to
for sure
see if I'm not missing something. Ooh, well, Promise of Power, hard to say no to.
Yeah, and I actually realistically don't know if I'd want it. I was thinking about that earlier. Like, I know I have it with the Astronomical Atlas, which is really good. We could also, like, put a pin in, like, Promise of Power, and we can kind of see where it fits between the two of us. I do really like it in Patrice, though, because it helps you with, like, anything, right? Also really nice for the Watcher, right? It's just, like, another option. Because, like, Moonstone and Promise of Power gets you to 7. You get something else, you can get, like... Even, like, if you have your Dark Horse, you're going to be at, what, 8? Which is really comfortable, too. Chat's asking what ally, if you have any considerations for that.
I don't know if we are going to run one at level 0 unless we do Lawrence. Like, that's the one I would run. It gives you +1 intellect. But if we're going to fight more, maybe we don't need that. There's some cool stuff that if you don't have an ally, you can do something in Survivor. I forget what card it is. That,
on your own?
Not the on your own. Not that, because we don't have anything that costs any money. But which is the one that lets you move things onto other items?
Oh.
Is it wrong place, wrong time?
Wrong place, yeah, wrong place, right time. This one, yeah.
No, I think there's an upgraded something else.
There's
like
it's the blood, yeah, the blood for blood, right? Or it's the event where the guy's going, ugh, that one. Is it the blood will have blood? This one, right?
That's kind of interesting. Maybe. I don't know. Okay, we can come back to the ally situation later. I mean, otherwise it's by default Madame Branch who helps with the
Yes, yeah.
resources.
She's always just very easy to just put in to a level 0 survivor deck.
Yeah. Let's go back to the skills, though.
Sure.
We have...
Look at you. We do need to look more at the Mystic if there's anything else here.
Let's look at the Mystic once again. Prophecy? Prophesy? I mean, it's wild.
This is wild.
Are you going to play this one?
Probably not.
Yeah, let's throw it in.
Sure. Which I know is crazy because I said I'm an Astronomical Atlas deck, but who knows?
Okay,
do you want to see the Survivor ones?
Survivor ones, then. Yeah. No reason not to throw Grizzled in.
Yes. And generally what I do, and I'm sure it's the same for you, is I choose the traits once I know the campaign I'm playing. Because like it kind of just matters. So generally, though, Humanoid is usually a pretty good safe thing to do. Additionally, I really like Hex or Hazard, depending on which you're more scared of. Brain or Foot. Those are usually kind of like what they generally test against.
Let's do Monster because of our weakness. Just to throw something in different, but I agree. If I know what campaign it is, I might not. And then, yeah, Hazard or Terror, I think, is fine. You'd always add some more later.
Yeah.
Hazard, yeah.
Yeah, Hazard or Terror. Yeah, I'll just put Hazard. Yeah, those are always nice.
Okay. I don't really want to run Resourceful because you might not be able to use that card that it gets back that easily. Yeah. What are some other new things that we have here? I don't know if Longshot is going to make it, but it could be. Maybe we just put a pin in it for now, so we still need how many more cards? Like 15 or 12 or something?
12 more.
If we do In the Thick of It, we could go for a cat. Miss Doyle would be fine.
Yep.
But let's go back to you, and I'll keep thinking on this.
Sure. All right.
Does it help you see kind of where this deck is going?
It does.
Not really.
It does.
It does anything.
Because I mean, like, you're leaning towards Fighter right now, right? But now I'm thinking, what if I actually do drop the Astronomical Atlas plan, and I now do Binder's Jar, and then I can do my synergy thing a little bit better, right? Like, do we think that? I think that's probably like a little bit more exciting, right? Which means that you might not be able to. You might not have to use Fire Axe. You could use. I actually still think that it's fine if we do a Lawrence Carlisle substitute.
Yeah.
If you do want to do that, and then you could even go like Mariner's Compass as an option too, right? We could also consider that if we do want to.
I kind of like the Fire Axe, and then maybe putting the Sparrow Mask out and making that a Cat Mask instead.
Yeah,
if I'm going to fight a little bit more. But
because I mean, like, we are both flexing, like that's still on the on the docket, right? So.
And enemies are always the ones that you have to deal with. Like finding a way to get clues, you can just do it.
Yeah, you can. If there's a will, there's a way. I mean, I also have 4 book as well. So.
Exactly.
So the reason why we're
Atlas or.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go no Atlas. The reason why we are doing this one collection is because this is a deck building series for people who might play to give them insight, and I don't think it's reasonable for us to assume that the people who are watching this video are only playing on Tabletop Simulator. So, while there's a lot of people that do, there's also a lot of people that don't. So we're building this with one collection to match that. So I do think we are going to kill Astronomical Atlas. I think that unfortunately is gone, which is going to change some other things that we've also been talking about. But I do want Binder's Jar. Oh, but we're at such an interesting kind of crossroads here.
No, I'm going to take that card, not you.
You're taking Binders?
No, at a crossroads.
Oh, so you got me with that one. You got me with that one. So the other thing that I have in my toolkit as a mystic, and I mean even you have it that we haven't even discussed yet, is the XP expediting cards. So like Arcane Research, down the rabbit hole, and then the Great Work, which I'm probably not going to include the Great Work because I probably could survive becoming the homunculus, but I kind of just don't want that evil on me right now.
Right.
So it's the question of which one do we take?
If you're not going to use Marie's ability much, you could just transfigure yourself into something else entirely.
That would. This is what always ends up happening with me with Marie. I feel like I don't give her ability enough credit to like really like pop off, you know? Okay. I do still like the plan of using the Hallowed Chalice and Earthly Serenity to do healing, though. I think I still like that. I'm gonna take 2 Binder's Jar. And I'm gonna take, I think, one of my divinations to start. No. Yeah, one of my divinations to... No. Yes? Okay, so I'm also debating grabbing a Ghastly Possession. I kind of really like that for the first scenario. I think it's really relevant for, like, refilling a Shriveling, which can be really good. It's obviously less relevant for a Rite of Seeking because it only puts 1 charge on it. But it's nice for a Divination, but we don't have the Divination yet, right? So it's kind of like sitting there. It is good for the Mists, too. I do like the thing that Astute said earlier with Blur. I use my free action to gain an action, right? I think that is like a really nice thing, especially if we go into Blur 4.
It's so good.
All right, so now here's a question that I'm going to ask you, and you can help me answer this. Should I build this deck how I would actually build this deck, or should I not take off my training wheels, so to speak? Should I go down the hill face first on my bike?
I mean, I'm building my deck the way I would play it, so
all right. I'm
no reason why you shouldn't.
I'm gonna take 4 mental trauma.
Let's go.
So we're gonna take we're taking 4 mental trauma here. And what we're gonna do is we're not gonna start with Binder's Jar. I'm gonna play 2 divinations. And I'm gonna play, I think, a Brand. Yes. Okay. So this looks scary to a lot of people, I know, but I've actually done the 4 trauma before. I am gonna, if it's cool with you, I am sure it is. I'm gonna take the Fearlesses if that's cool with you.
Yeah.
All right, and then that's also going to include Fearless 2 in the future because that extra healing is going to be really nice. I'm not taking. I'm not going to take Ward of Protections because I don't want to have to take Horror to not take Horror. Like that just seems like kind of an issue. However, I am going to take the Deny Existences if that's cool with you.
That's fine.
So we're going to take these. Oh, Deny Existence, sorry. So now we're looking like a little bit more with it. Going at some of our earlier things, I think that I'm gonna... am I gonna keep or cut the Living Ink? Man, it'd be so funny to also run St. Hubert's Key in this deck and just immediately play it, discard it, heal 2 Horror. It's a healing card, I swear.
4 resources for healing 2. Let's go.
Yeah. I do still like the Living Ink.
Yeah, how else are you boosting your...
But I think the Living Ink's going to get replaced. I already hear Astute dying, just collapsing of boredom from this. But I do think the Holy Rosary is really nice with the decision that we made to take 4 trauma, right? I do need to find if I'm going to cut one of these Shriveling. What are we at? We're at 6 spells. So we're at 7 spells. That would be 6. I think it is the way. So the only downside, oh no, I'm gonna cut the Holy Rosary, and the reason is because we are still planning on doing Binder's Jar, right? And like with you, with the Astral Mirror and the Hunting Jacket, you kind of just have to like make the choice. Desperate skills, not for me. Those I think those are better when you have more card draw, and that's I think a reason why they're very good in Patrice is because you don't have to draw them one by one. You draw them in batches of 5, which is like makes them a lot more viable. Because there's nothing worse than trying to find an asset that you need, and then like drawing a desperate skill that you like can't play. Right, so like that's kind of the reason. So we're gonna do that, and I do think the Living Ink is gonna come back. Because we like that brain boost. Yeah, brain again. Okay.
So how quickly are you going to die in this deck?
How am I going to die?
Just asking for a friend.
I don't think I'm going to die. I actually don't think I'm going to die. I have Hallowed Chalice and then the Earthly Serenities as well. I think killing, and the Fearless, I think killing me would actually be, the game would have to work very hard. The Shrivelings
is going to be really good.
Yeah, the Shrivelings are a bit scary, but that's why I did end up deciding to cut one of them, because we're not going to be taking as much horror from that. And then as soon as we also get the Earthly Serenities, and also now because we're doing all this, the Call for Backup can come back in. We've kind of turned into like a synergy sort of deck here. So much so that I would actually even look at Close the Circle as just like another potential thing that we can have in this deck here. Unless you had any plan for it, but I'm assuming you don't.
Well, now I actually have the arcane slots open again, but I don't think so. Now you take it.
Okay. What about Azure Flame over the Shriveling? Honestly, that's not a bad shout if I am worried about it. They're like practically the same card. So I'll give you that. I think that actually is a pretty all right thing to consider. I'll take that recommendation. I do think that like when I upgrade, it's just like spells. Get all the spells looking great. And then like, so like, let's say for example, we get like 6 experience on the first one, right? I'm probably going to upgrade some of my spells, right? So if I get to, if I want to take one of these to level 4, it costs me 2 experience. That's crazy. So like I would then spend 6 XP, first 2 experience would be go to upgrade like a brand and a divination. And then I would spend the last 2 experience to put in the other brand and one of the blurs or one of the Earthly Serenities, depending on how I felt about the horror for this. And then it's just like, after that, you grab your, wow, okay, so Binder's Jar, I think can replace Holy Rosary at level 0. I think that can be kind of like what we do here, so we're going to start with that there. And then what I think I want is... All right, here's a question. Are you going to think you're going to take Spectrals, or do you think those are going to sit on the wayside?
I think they're too expensive.
Okay. I'll take the Spectrals. Sorry, you should not be in here. Oh, that's great. I just got 2 more deck slots. Huge. Okay, because I was like, I'm running out of space. I also have 1 more splash card. Oh, I don't need Research Librarian either. I have 3 more splash cards.
What do you think of Hawkeye Folding Camera?
I mean, I do love the card. That can be my one of. I'm down for that, right? So the reason
you can
why...
see the sanity also.
Yeah. So I also realize I'm getting to that point where I'm actually just putting in cards and not talking about them too much. Hawkeye Folding Camera, exactly, right? The +1 sanity is really nice. When you're playing Hawkeye Folding Camera, you kind of want to ensure that your first... the first evidence is relevant. So that's why it's particularly really good in Marie Lambeau and Norman Withers, right? So you want to be able to like, not like, I need to clear 2 locations to start getting value. Only having to clear 1 is really nice. I think for my last 2 cards, I'm going to play Crack the Case. The reason is it's reactive economy, but I can also use it to help Patrice, which can be really nice for Patrice to get things. Cards that split resources also work very well with Dark Horse decks because it allows me to give Patrice exactly what she needs, and then I can take the rest for myself. So I like that. I like that a lot here. And I think that probably, like, my curve is high. So let's just, like, look at this chart here and scream. 14 cards or 2 or higher? That's a lot. Admittedly, it is. But we have Uncage the Soul to help. We have Crack the Case and Voice of Ra. Hallowed Chalice, I'm going to start as a 2 of still. I'm thinking, like, maybe we could, like, we're only playing... The other thing you do when you look at your curve is it's scary at first, but then you think about how many of these you actually need to play. Do I need to play both Hallowed Chalices? No, I don't. I'm only going to be playing one of them, right? Do I need to play both Holy Rosaries? Hopefully not, right? Like, hopefully not, right? Like, that's kind of like what you're looking at. Am I going to need to play all of these spells? Yeah, probably. Like, we're probably going to play all these spells, right? But we have the Uncage the Soul to help with that. And then there's also the Read the Signs and the probably Spectral Razor, because I feel like we might want to have that. I don't know if it's going to make the cut for sure. We might, because I do think it'd be fun to actually also play these decks in the future, I agree. We might just kind of like see what happens, right? We might just have to, like, if we're both flexing, it might not be as necessary because we can kind of fill the holes. And you can also see already with both my deck in the form of Mists of Rella and your deck in the form of dealing with the Watcher, we kind of have Evade built in as well, right? So, like, that's really nice. You said you wanted the Cat Mask too, right?
I think we're going to go for the Cat Mask now, and then give me 2 copies of String of Curses.
Oh, hell yeah. That's a great idea. That's a fantastic idea.
So let's talk about those since we haven't seen them. So now I'm seeing that, like, I want to... You do use Doom to some extent, right? And I want to take advantage of that. And, you know, even if you didn't, there's enough, I think, in a lot of campaigns that adds Doom on its own that this card is worth it. So I'm going to add in the String of Curses as well to make that a little bit more... well, I mean, it's a really good card, right? But yeah, this lets me evade an enemy, place a Doom on it, and you get a clue. If it already has Doom, it just gets deleted. That's pretty good.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And it's also, like, it's both, like, yeah, it's also, like, economy, which is really nice, too. Which is, it's a great card. All right.
All right.
Oh, do you want to keep going?
Yeah, go ahead.
No,
yeah, well, I had a dumb idea.
Sure, I love dumb idea. I mean, I'm all for it. Let's hear it.
Now that we're thinking about other things to throw in these decks, let's put it in 2 copies of Summon Servitor here.
Oh, let's go! We love the alien.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have an ally right now.
Yep.
I might put all the soak into the hunting jackets. This seems like fun. It gives me an extra action.
Yep.
The base 4s are better than my base 2s.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, why not? I can only put 4 check boxes, but we'll figure out what those are later. I think that'd be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, because, like,
what's
if we just
discard, I don't know.
Yeah.
Cat Mask that's empty.
Yeah.
Shopner's catalog with 1 resource on it. I don't know.
Yeah. One thing I will say for everyone who's watching this video, this card with this on Dexter goes hard. The Return to Hand. You should definitely try it out. It's a blast. But yeah, no, this is, I think that I love the alien. I think that's a great call.
Longshot doesn't, I mean, yeah, the skill test is still at my location, not the servitor's location, so it doesn't really matter, but let's throw in Longshot anyway.
Yeah. I'm for it. I'm for it.
And we still need a buttload more cards, so maybe let's put in 3 copies of Open Gate.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, that sounds fun. It just fills space and also, like, can be relevant. Also has great icons, right, for you. These are, like, not on par with, like, okay, this is going to sound like the stupidest thing I've ever said. This is not on par with a water protection, but like in Patrice, it kind of fits a similar niche, right? Where if you don't need to play them, they can be committed, right? Like just that extra brain icon probably means you're going to pass a test that you might have just warded anyway. And if you don't need it, you can also just use it to actually like put on your location as opposed to water protection, which does have a wild, admittedly, but also can just like get discarded, right? And I know once again, yeah, someone's gonna be like, "That's the dumbest thing anyone's ever said," but I stand by it.
How's our economy looking here too? Again, we're dark horse, so I can't see it behind our.
Oh, sorry. You have 15 ones, 7 twos, and 6 threes.
Okay, that's not bad. Probably the rest of the cards will be skills. Maybe I want to think. I mean, the hunting jacket will get me some resources too, and we'll make some space if we upgrade the dark horses also. Yeah. But I'm feeling pretty good about this. We're not taking in the thick of it for now. You know, I might even think about now. The Whispers of Doom card is really expensive. That's a cool way to get rid of enemies too.
Is that that new one?
Yeah, you talk to the enemy, and if you succeed, then it dies.
But yeah, it's the guy going, ah, and the alien's like next to him. Yeah, okay, yeah.
I don't know, which of these skills would you...
do you want to take the Promise of Power? I'm not playing it.
Oh yeah, we didn't put it in. Yeah,
yeah. It's not making it into mine. And you need a one of?
One of. Okay, maybe that could be an ally. We could take in the thick of it, put in the well, no.
What if it's an ally or like a very cheap item? Or like just like something like very cheap for the servitor.
Sure. Bandages is kind of interesting because of our Baron.
I also could improvise shield.
Oh.
Just because that's like an easy, like if it's in your discard pile, that means you can just play the servitor, right? Like it would be 2 actions, but like it could be something you could just do. Obviously, I think you upgrade out of it, but it could give you like a little bit more juice for just consistency for the servitor, and also just like juice for you not dying.
I was thinking this is kind of a dumb idea too. I'm not sold on it, but something like Forbidden Knowledge to have an asset that can get bonked for the servitor, and it gives you some drip economy. I'm not sure
I like that. I think that's great too.
All right, let's do that. I mean,
yeah, I think that's
the horror
sick.
probably isn't a big deal. So,
yeah, I mean, I also have the Hallowed Chalice, right, which also works for you. So I'm gonna do that for. Because now, like, my theory is, if I am spending an action free to do a spell each turn, I can heal. And this gives me the action to do it, because I'll put the Doom down. The other thing that I really like about Hallowed Chalice is, even though it's going to be harder in 2 players, it's very easy in 3 or 4 players. This card is incredibly easy to remove the Doom from. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really good card. Am I putting in Mind's Eye? Probably not. This is like probably going to be a basic cornered deck. I guess we didn't put that in the side deck, but that seems reasonable. Yeah. I do feel pretty good about the current situation with passing tests in general. So it might not be necessary to put cornered in, depending on how things go. Like the thing about survivors is that they try to have a lot of ways of passing tests, and I think this deck, as it is, shouldn't have a problem passing the test. It's just a question of what are you doing with the test itself. The improvised weapon barrier winging it is really good for that. Fire Axe is really good, and then that's kind of it. The rest of the deck is just basic actions.
Yeah, just like the stuff that Patrice has that she's like, what am I doing with this turn? Yeah, like, is anything happening here, or am I just doing something else? Any other,
I think the long shot helps.
Oh yeah.
Go ahead.
Any other upgrades that you could see putting in the side deck here that you like probably like Dark Horse 5, right?
Dark Horse 5, yeah.
So the nice thing about Dark Horse 5, everyone at home, is that when you put it into your deck, it removes both of these. So you get to like put in 2 other level 0 cards for free, which is going to be really nice. Yeah.
And we'll see what we might need. But I like the idea of the servitor doing a lot of work here. There's a good argument to get in the thick of it just so it does something, because right now it does nothing.
Yeah, I think that's pretty reasonable.
But maybe we'll come back to that idea after you finish up your deck.
Sure. All right. Okay, back to this monstrosity here. So, Living Ink as well, I do think that we're probably going to still do the brain here as our focus. It'll probably be still Macabre Depiction, just because, like, it's very likely to actually, like, be relevant. Without token pulling effects, it's unlikely that we would just consistently be able to do it. Like if we had like an olive or something like that, or we're playing Bless and Curse, makes it a lot like more viable to stay around all the time. But just having it here as like a thing to consider, that it'll just like extend the longevity of it. We're probably not going to take Imbued Ink. I would probably realistically take Book or Fist, and then potentially Shifting Ink as well. Because until you find your leather jacket, your hunting jacket, this could be a good thing for me to just throw on you, to like you also just get like a boost to your brain and your fist if you are fighting. So that could be like a very viable path that I could go. Because like I don't think there's a reason for me to actually increase my book. 4 is pretty relevant. Hawkeye Folding Camera gets me to 5, which is very relevant. But we're also using all of these other things to do what we need to get the clues and all that, and then also fight. I get to put in 3 more cards. How worried am I about our 8 at 2? So if I'm also looking at like my upgrades, it's probably going to be Call the Beyond. This allows me to refill the uses on an asset I control, and then I may resolve an action or lightning bolt ability on that asset. I also get to add 3 curse tokens, which is actually a boon because of the Living Inks. So like it's another thing that I can like take advantage of. It's also one of those things that I think generally with your strategy of reducing values and my strategy of just making my number big, it's unlikely that these curse tokens are actually going to be too much of an issue. So this is going to be my side deck for sure. You can see a lot of my plan, though, is going to be also taking like this upgraded Read the Signs. The upgraded Uncage the Soul, which I have, to replenish my spell assets. So that's kind of like what this whole deck is, right? It's dropping down a spell, using that spell, getting a new spell. Very traditional, but we have like a little bit of like risk reward in the form of we're likely to keep Baron around and then like have him just have 1 doom. And either Ancient Evil's the group, which I know sounds scary, but the idea is that you out-tempo it. Use Mystifying Song, or I think I'm going to play 1 Moonlight Ritual as my last one of, just to have like another option to clear doom out of things. Just give us like a little bit of longevity in that. I have 2 more cards here.
Have you thought about an Arcane Initiate?
That's a good consideration, just to like get more card draw, because we don't really have anything here. And it also triggers the ability. It's probably the way, right? Baron kills it, you don't care. Yeah, that's probably the way. We take Arcane Initiate, and I have to make one more tough decision here. Okay. Let's just crunch some numbers. Give me a second, everybody. I'm doing math. So this is cost me 1. It cost me 2. This then costs me 0. This cost me 1. This cost me 0. So it's going to be, I'm like up 1 on each of these. The divinations are going to be only 1 cost, 0 experience. Earthly Serenity is going to cost me 1. It's going to go into that. Fearless is 0. Uncage the Souls. Yep. We're going to also put it down the rabbit hole in here. Because we have a lot of things we need to buy. And, like, while we're going to have to pay extra for the binder's jar. So what we could do now is we can buy our divination upgrade for free. It'll cost us 0 experience. And then we can go from there. So we're going to pay extra for a lot of things. So I think because of that, Close the Circle is going to go. And the reason that this pushed me over, actually, is because now I can also run Arcane Initiate 3. So that was kind of like the last thing to make me really want down the rabbit hole. Because I actually really like her as a way to mitigate this 4 trauma we have. And also get that extra juice out of it. So that's going to be in here as well. Now, could this deck just die? Yes, 100% it could just die. But we're not going to worry about that. Okay, sorry, I'm going to just make a few more decisions too. I feel like I want to... All right, this might do something for you. I don't know. I don't know. Okay, I'm going to go to a 1 of Miss, because I think we're only going to do a 1 of Blur. Oh, man. I don't know. So, like, this is the thing that I find very daunting when you're making a Mystic deck, which is finding the right amount of each spell to run, right? Because, like, realistically, if we're planning on spell cycling with the form of Uncage the Soul level 3, and then also, like, Ghastly Possession to do things, that's a really nice thing to go. Additionally, what we could also do is run 0 mists and actually start with a blur in the deck and do 1 less divination, right? We could go for something like this, which means we have to do a little bit less, and we only need to buy 1 of these. So it's a little bit less of a hit on our down the rabbit hole tax. We still... Oh, I got rid of that other one. I put it in here. We still need to probably buy the other divination 1. Or alternatively, we could also just run Rite of Seeking and then just upgrade from there, right? So, like, maybe these don't turn into the other versions, but they turn into, like, the upgraded versions of their own like, of them, I guess, right?
Yeah. Rite of Seeking level 2 is an incredible card.
Yes, it is.
Especially in 2-player. Like, realistically, are you going to play all those spells? I don't know if scenarios are that long in 2-player.
Yeah.
To need them all out, right? It's kind of like whatever comes up, you play it, and that's the way you're rocking for the rest of that scenario.
Yeah, so I think what we do is we kind of just, like... I think we kind of just embrace that. I do still think I want... Because I think you're 100% right? Like, you just, like, how many spells do you need to play and refill? I did it again. To play and refill to just win, right? And the answer is in 2-player, not that much, right? So what if we did just do like that for our plan?
So what are we getting out of our synergy? Are we still running Call for Backup?
Probably not anymore. Probably not.
Okay. Here's an idea. Like, you could not do the divination and run something instead of deduction if you want to free up that slot and just go full on willpower. But you do have a 4, like, plus the Hawkeye folding camera, deduction gets you to 6. That's still pretty good. So
I'm down for it. So we can cut the deduction. I mean, I might still run the deduction just because, like, it is still clues, but, like, the deduction is right now on the edge. I think I'm gonna play an Earthly Serenity. Because then, like,
that's actually
I have
where I was going with this.
all of that set up, and we also have some protection for us dying, which is good. And, like, as well, we can just get second versions of these. Did I do it again? I did it again. I know I've been thinking just stop changing the side deck, but it's very important to me. Like, we can add more, like, Brandicathugas if we need to, right? So it's like, or like blurs or earthly serenities, or even divinations if we feel like we need them as we go. But right now we're kind of leaning more into the
Now I kind of want to play these decks just to see if we screwed up, right?
Yeah, no, I'm definitely down. I'm definitely down to do it. I'm definitely 100% down. Okay. All right. Now, the craziest thing, too, is then we even ask the question, is this still a Binder's Jar deck, right? Like, that's the... Because if we're not running Synergy, right, do we really need to do that, right? What was the twist here? Nothing. It was free-for-all, and it's gone on such an adventure.
The twist is doing it 2 people and try to figure out if we can build decks in an hour.
Yeah, and we failed. We're at an hour 20.
No.
Okay, I think I need to stop. I need to stop. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to kill the deduction, and I'm going to play Take Heart. And I'm going to punch an enemy and pass a test. Or
Brilliant.
A foot test and just try to get some stuff. I think I just like that extra bit of economy is going to make me happy.
Okay, let's run through an idea though.
Yeah.
Of like someone said Carcosa would be cool to test.
Yeah.
Imagine we're going into the first scenario of something like that with Curtain Call. Do we have enough juice to, like, let's say kill the Big Butt Baby twice?
Not in my deck alone.
Okay, can I see mine again?
Of course.
Okay, let's just imagine by that point we've got a Fire Axe out. That's all I'm imagining right here. That's the only thing we can do. We have the Fire Axe and we commit a bunch of skills or something. It's a 4-fight enemy, I think.
Yes. Counterpoint though. Counterpoint. Do we have enough to kill it once? Right? Like,
I think so.
Because how that goes is we have a lot of evasion, right? Does the Big Butt Baby cause horror if he's exhausted? Is, I guess, the question to that.
Let's check. I want to say yes.
I also want to say yes. Give me the Royal Emissary.
Royal Emissary. Yes.
All right, so then we probably can't manage it like that.
I mean, to be fair, it's a good scenario to test decks with, but other opening scenarios don't necessarily have you deal with the big elite. And that's kind of I don't know, I mean, playing Daisy as a strange goon has been eye-opening of, like, how do you deal with elite enemies? Because Spectral Razor is good, but it doesn't... I mean, it does 2 damage, but I'm not spending 2 resources for that in that kind of deck. What else do we have that deals with elites? Should I run a Waylay? No, that's also non-elite.
Yeah.
Kind of a good card, though.
Is there something better I could do with my... Like, Astute said Occult Lexicon, and, like, that's always... I mean, there was a Kappa there, right? But, like, that's always an option. But is there, like, a better splash that I could do to maybe deal some damage? Give me... I mean, what if I actually take the Sparrow Mask? What if we swap masks?
Yeah.
Because then that makes my Azure Flames a little bit more consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I didn't want to be a splash recall.
Sense.
We could do that
True.
instead.
Yeah, you could just run it and pick them up with Arcane Initiate.
Yeah.
That ain't bad.
I think, okay, I'm going to save this deck because I feel like it has gone in so many ways. I still think the Ghastly Possessions might make it, But as always with Mystics, you're kind of then at like, what do I get rid of, right? And like the answer to that question is, unfortunately, it's tough, right? It's tough to figure out what you get rid of. They might not even make it. Yeah, it's tough. All right, I'm going to save mine here, though. In-Depth. The many...
What do you call this?
I'm just going to call it Nightmare Marie. Because it might be a nightmare. So we're going to call it that.
Okay.
I feel like the Baron Samedi plan might come and bite me. However, I think now, because I have Arcane Initiate and Hallowed Chalice, in the right window, I could just, like, get rid of it. Again, assuming it's, like, Carcosa's a good example, Marie and our Baron are awful in, like, Last King as an example, right?
Yeah.
But that's just something that can't be beat by deck building. That's just the nature of that. All right. Any other changes you want to make here?
I mean, there's so many other things that... So, like, what do you think the weaknesses of the two decks together are? Because Survivor can do anything, right? So, like, what's missing?
I think it's generally just burst damage for bosses. I think that's the hard part. Like, our plan for bosses, I think, is evade them and, like, beat them over time, which is not bad, but it gives you more time to draw enemies, get overwhelmed, right? Die to Mythos, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think there's much at level 0 to put in unless it's a different weapon, but I don't think like Meat Cleaver is going to do it here. The 18 Derringer.
I guess, like, to answer your question, to follow up on that last one, I think it's our weakness, but I don't think we need to do... I think, like, trying to fix it might not be worth it. I think we could still do it. We just need to be aware of the weakness that comes with it, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay, there's other things to upgrade into that we could put here, but I don't think any of... I think that's really based on, like, what happens in the first couple scenarios that would determine the direction. So yes, right now Summon Servitor does nothing, but I'm not sure I want to commit to any of those check boxes quite yet.
Mm-hmm.
It seems good. I would play this. I'm gonna have
to. All right, in-depth deck build. What do you want to call it?
I mean, it's Dark Horse Patrice, but that's kind of boring. What else we got? Patrice and her alien that does nothing.
Yes. And the alien that does nothing. Perfect. I love it. Also, if we play this after Drowned City gets released, I'm definitely putting Homunculus in here too, probably. Mm-hmm. Potentially. It might be. Why not? If I die... So the thing is, like, this deck is like the definition of risk-reward, right? Aladat, thank you so much. 25 months of the golden table. That's crazy. But the thing that's really sick about this deck is if you make it to the, like, scenario 5, you are, like, you'll have so much experience, it'll be insane, right? Like, that's kind of like the hills and valleys that you're going to have to ride with this one.
You know what this reminds me of, Justin?
What?
When we played this Yithians and we had that same little duo of... You're like, just wait till scenario 5. Yes. We're gonna have so much XP.
But luckily this time we have 4 brain and 4, like, I have 4 books, so we should be better. We actually can use something. What was I was also gonna say something. I forgot what it was though. It just lost me. But I think that these would be a blast to play. I think that they're both, and I think this is a good showcase too, where you can see how when you play with, like, you see it with Travis and Bryn and I a lot too, right? Where, like, someone can get an idea and then you can kind of bounce on that idea, you can kind of have fun with that idea, and then things can just change as you're deck building with a group. So this was less focused than, like, my solo deck building when I was just building a deck, but I think that these decks both still hit the flavor of what we are, right, as players. I think it's really cool. I mean, oh, no, I remember what I was going to say. I did this with Jacqueline, and I actually healed trauma throughout the campaign, so it actually was totally fine.
Was that Edge of the Earth?
Yeah, I was Edge of the Earth, yeah. Yeah. So, we just got to do it through that, and we'll be A-okay. Notably, that actually would be a pretty good one for Baron, because the agendas are usually pretty high on Doom for that one. It
just sucks in the last scenario.
Yes. Yes, it does, doesn't it? Yeah, just put a Doom down and then just... Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this. Keep your eyes open, because I imagine we'll see these decks in action one day. When you just see a thumbnail that says Nightmare Marie is here or something on that lines, or, you know, like, what is Patrice's alien buddy gonna do? That's when you'll know. That's when you'll know. But thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great one. Again, go support Daniel's channel if you have not already subscribed to it. He releases great Arkham content there, as well as a video of us running through Circle Undone with 2 curse decks, which has been some of the most fun Arkham I've played. So go check that out. Thanks for watching. Have a good one. And as always, the GGs.